Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Campbell. I'm a doula in Washoe County, Nevada, a Medicaid provider, a lactation educator, childbirth educator, and mom of 18. You can find me and connect on doulainreno.com. Remember, give a shout out to those who are brave enough to share their stories with us on how they have become parents. Let's dive in.
I've been dying to do this for a year, so this is great.
I'm so excited. Welcome to Becoming Parents Podcast. I'm with Lisa Mans today. I'm the host, Jennifer Campbell, and I'm super excited. And it's really good timing because of the month that you scheduled in. So I'm glad that you waited and you got to be on the day and the month that you wanted to be. Jump in and start sharing your parenting journey with us.
Absolutely. So first of all, yes, it is Children's Online Safety Month. So this is super important probably for every single person that's listening and participating. I know it's important for you and it's important for me. My name is Lisa Mans. A little bit of my background. I am a mother of 6
Woohoo!
who are between the ages of 13 and 30 this year. I'm sure my eldest would not appreciate me, you know, going all the way to saying that they're going to be 30 this year, but it is true. And they go down 30, 28. Well, we'll be 30, we'll be 28, we'll be 26 if he breathes long enough.
Right.
As a parent, let's keep the conversation transparent and honest. There's always a moment with every single child where you just go, okay, let him breathe. You breathe away from them, and then turned 17, turned 14 yesterday, and turned 13 a month ago. So 3 boys, 3 girls, born biologically. 125 years of cumulative parenting experience. I would love to hear your add up. Um, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I grew up an only child. Um, Found out I was adopted. Then found out I was a middle child, which was fascinating. And I think that those things encouraged me to have more kids for sure, because I
Okay.
didn't want one to be alone. But then I also learned that you should do them in pairs, not triplets. Triplets is a nightmare for me, because when there were 3, there was always one that was fighting, one that was left out, one that was, and sometimes it felt like you were dealing with the Three Stooges. And again, I'm old enough to remember that reference.
I am
Um,
too.
hey, and but yeah, 3 boys, 3 girls, and a self-made Brady Bunch. And they've all collectively grown up with internet access. And um, that definitely kicked off my entrepreneurial journey because, as I mentioned earlier in conversation, if anyone would have told me 5 years ago that I would be doing what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
I would have told them they were nuts, that they were absolutely insane. I was comfortable with knowing where the on-off button was, maybe installing things with the press of a button. Um, but yeah, certainly not reading the laws, reading policy, when what people do with data and things of that nature, or corporations. And really, AuthentiKid is about establishing the fact that we all wear multiple roles every single day and doing our best to protect the leaders of tomorrow today, um, while wearing all those hats at the same time.
Tell me about your kids, and because I know there's a reason why 5 years ago you didn't think you'd be doing what you're doing today. So I really want you to dive in and talk about what you're doing today and what kind of spurred that, because I feel like we'll figure out like why you didn't expect to. You have 6 kids and adopted, which there's so many stories in there. But as far as authentic kids, and talk about what this month is, kind of dive into some of that.
Sure, sure. So AuthentiKid was actually a pivot. Um, Funny enough, I caught a ban on Facebook.
Okay.
I shared what some consider an inappropriate meme,
Okay.
and I got mad. I was like, "Why? This is stupid." I didn't agree with it, you know. Freedom of speech, rah rah. And I sat with my best friend David, who I will forever thank for this, and I said, "Why? Why? I want to," and then it became, "I want to create my own social media platform where anybody can post anything they want at any time." And he said, "Stop right there." He said, "I love you, but I know for a fact you do not want XYZ." And I'm not going to repeat exactly what he said, but it was gross. "You do not want XYZ in your feed every day." And that's what
Mhm.
you'll get if you do and I said, "Well, what can we do?" He's like, "Well, let's get to the why. Why did you get banned? Why?" We spent an hour digging. And it came down to the fact that there are kids on social media. And so I'm kind of a research hound. My kids hate that. My kids hate the fact that I listen, I observe, I research, and I talk. I try to turn everything into an educational moment. If you've seen if you've seen the movie, I've turned into the parent now where if you've seen the movie 10 Things I Hate About You, and the dad, when the daughter just says, "Well, I'm going to go on a date," and she's like, "No, you're not." And put on the belly, put on the belly. And she has to, and they're like, "Oh my God, dad." Every time I talk about data and sharing online and things of that nature, my kids look at me with that face because it's true. We all overshare into the void,
Yeah.
really. Um, Whether it's sharing, and the thing is that while we're teaching them good citizenship, we're also teaching them how to be sneaky. And most people don't realize that the
Oh,
skills that we're
yes.
teaching them through digital citizenship also provide them with the skills to be the exact opposite. One of the first things kids learn in school is how to create an email address. So if you think for a second that they're not creating alternate profiles so you can't follow them or see
Yep.
them, or you've already lost the battle. So as a parent, that's one of the things I had to get into. Also, the fact, as a parent of multiple children, you know that you don't parent child one the same as you parent child four and child six. I mean, you have the same rules,
Right.
right? But maybe the way you handle situations, because children develop physically, emotionally, mentally, psychologically different, you have to do the very same in the parenting. We're not raising children. I think we can all admit that. The goal end result is not to raise children. It is to raise young adults who are participating in a positive manner in community.
Mm.
Um, it, while they may be gestationally young, they grow. And we don't want adults who still have childlike
Right.
mannerisms or thought processes. We want them to use critical thinking skills. We want them to gain independence. So when developing the tool that we created at AuthentiKid, we had to take all of that in mind. And the reason why I say that is because, well, child number one was extremely technologically advanced. Like, he was in third grade, caught chicken pox. And this is what's funny. He's going to be 30. So again, just remember, 30 this year. So we're talking about 2004, no, 2002 maybe,
Mhm.
something in that age range. 2002, he caught the chicken pox, and he was playing a game called Morrowind. He was very into role playing. Um, and so I went out, because and he could read in second grade They said, we don't know what to do with him because he's already reading at a college level. So I went out and bought the game instructional book, which was, a good inch and a half thick.
Mhm.
And he broke the spine probably by day 3 of the chicken pox. And one morning I came down while he had the chicken pox, and there were all of these pop-ups on my screen, on
Oh.
my computer. And I was like, what is going on? And it started a huge fight between me and my husband, now ex-husband at the time. But he was my husband at the time. And I was like, what are you looking at online? This is the only computer that we have in the house right now. The kids access this computer. My mother lives with us. I mean, like, the fight,
What are you
right?
searching?
What are
Yes.
you doing?
Uh-huh.
So, and so, you know, that was the first moment. And we realized when we went through the search history that it wasn't my husband at the time. It was my eldest son who was only 9 years old. He must have clicked on something or and probably desperately tried to back out. And then like 2 weeks later, we're seeing search history of, you know, pornographic items, and you just kind of go, okay, let's turn this into a positive conversation and talk about appropriate inappropriate activities online, and
Yeah.
you know strange people online and all of those things.
Yep.
And that was the first experience. Fast forward that kid probably 7 or 8 years later, he's finding it funny because he's on Omegle during a game night. We used to host game night, and there were probably 15 to 20 kids in my house. Let me tell you, that was the best thing ever because on Friday nights, I never had to do dishes and I never had to cook dinner. My kitchen was spotless. They always made sure that everybody ate in my household, whether they were gaming or not. So it was fantastic. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. Um, but we did it for 2.5 years. He's sitting there with his laptop on his lap. Um, his buddies are playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and we've got Dungeons and Dragons going on. They're having a blast. And he says, "Hey, mom, have you ever heard of a meat spin?" And starts laughing hysterically. And I'm like, no. So we're talking about, so 94, he's 15, 2004. So 2009
9-ish.
ish.
Mhm.
Okay. A meat spin is basically where you swipe left or right, and you're not looking at butcher's goods. Okay. But you're looking at goods. It's like the worst thing that you could ever imagine. When I was just like, oh god, what next, what next?
Right.
So then, um a couple of my kids, got onto social media as they got older. I
Yeah.
allowed them to be on, and they made friends, and they, some wanted to go visit friends. I drove for hours so that my kids could meet some of their friends in person, which was fantastic. We had some good experiences. Um, and if you don't engage your kids to do things like that, they're going to find a way, and that gets upsetting when you read those stories.
Yeah.
Um, when parents don't take online friendships to be as serious or as important, um, kids will find a way to buy a bus ticket, and then things can go really, really in the wrong direction.
Mhm.
um so I was grateful that I at least had the foresight to take care of that end. um but as it continued, and I'm continuing to see the problems, David and I were started talking about all of these, and he said it's because kids are online. And when I researched, I found that the average age at the time, so we're talking, let me fast forward. We're talking now 2019 is when this conversation happens. Um, at the time, the average age of a minor getting a digital device that they can use on their own, whether it's and that has internet access. So you could talk about an Xbox in their room, a
Right.
phone, a tablet, a
Yep.
laptop. And again, remember this is before 2020, where
Mhm.
schools issued devices for kids, right?
Right.
Um, the average age was 10. And within 6 months, they have social media accounts. Why? Because the trust system is broken. When and it's not trust as in me trusting my child trusting me. It's the trust system of check a box if you're over the age of 13. Do you really think that people are going to be honest about that? Over 13, over 18, over 21? Do they really, really, really believe that? I mean, I look at that and I go, clearly you either have one child or you have no kids because there's absolutely no way that you believe that that actually works. And just human nature. I mean, I'm 54. But when somebody says, "Oh my gosh, you look so great." How old are you? 45? Absolutely, and I keep it running. I Nobody needs to know exactly how old I am.
Right.
But if it's human nature for me to lie about my age, and I think about, I used empathy a lot when creating what we've created. Um, I thought about the fact that when I was 13, I lied to hang out with some older kids on a cruise. My
Right.
parents were in a great position and and took me on a cruise. And where that may sound privileged, it gives me an opportunity to go, if I was 10, 11, 12, 13, would I lie about my age to get into places that I wouldn't normally?
100%. We all did.
Absolutely, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
let's also be honest. At 19, 20, we were lying to get friends to go buy a bottle in college or, whatever. Or at least we heard about that. I'm
I mean,
not
or
going to
you knew
confirm or not.
somebody or you
Right.
whatever. Yeah, it was
Or
easy.
or right. Or I thought she was over 18, officer.
Yeah, yeah, that's the
We've all
worst.
heard that story.
Right.
Right. Um, there are kids that are 10, 11, 12, 13. And when you think about divorce statistics and all of those things. And your background with kids in foster care, there are kids who are living in a mindset of lack and they're looking for something and they're falling into traps. There's no question about it. They get on dating apps, they're looking for love, they're looking for friendship, they're looking for, acceptance. And so this becomes a very big, big issue. Um, and companies are truly paying the price. And when I say paying the price, it's not just social tolerance where, we saw and legal issues because we just saw in Congress where they had that whole big conversation, about child porn being accessed online. Um, the legislators have created that chicken and egg theory. Companies cannot collect data of a minor under the age of 13, and where they decided 13 was the line
Is the
where
worst
kids
idea.
and COPA 2.0 when it comes out and says that 15-year-olds can also turn off their location so parents can't find out where they are. Legislators are the ones that created this chicken and egg theory problem because companies cannot legally collect the information they need in order to determine whether or not a child is under 13 because they
Yeah.
can't ask them their date of birth. They can't. If they do, even if they lie, they are out of compliance. And a COPA fine is roughly, just for easy numbers, about 50 grand every instance. And
Mhm.
every instance is every item of data collected. So a like, a follow, a share,
Oh my
a
gosh.
post. So when Meta and YouTube got hit for billions of dollars just a few years ago, prior to 2020,
Mhm.
now you understand how it got so big so fast.
Yep.
And they can't even still. I mean, they're still out of compliance in multitudes of ways. We can't hold those companies accountable until we give them a tool that will allow them to be held accountable. Simon Milner in 2016 told The Guardian that it's virtually impossible to eradicate the issue of minors under 13 online. Challenge accepted. We've done it.
Tell me about AuthentiKid, what it does, how it works,
Absolutely.
please, yeah.
So we are going to be giving away the authentic keys to the minors. Um, I don't think that families and parents should have to pay for their kids to have at least the bare minimum of security and safety, which is protecting themselves from themselves and being on um, sites that are deemed age inappropriate. Bare
Mhm,
minimum. Okay. Um, my hat's off to companies like Bark and Privio who have parental controls that you pay for. Um, the issue is that, those were great for the moment, but when you look at the statistics of the facts that Bark only, and I'm not picking on them at all.
mhm,
Um, they monitor 30 websites, and they're the 30 biggest. But
mhm.
when you look at the fact that 252,000 new websites are created every single day, it's just not enough.
Holy
And
cow.
I would love to partner with them. I mean, it would be unstoppable if we were partnered with them. So hey, Tatiana, let's talk. If you catch this, if you catch this podcast. But what happens is a digital key is issued to the family on behalf of this child. It is then installed on all the devices. They log in. We use enhanced AI. They answer some questions that confirm the fact that they are in certain age groups, 0 to 5, 6 to 9, 10 to 12, 13 to 15, because of that whole COPA GDPR uh, age group uh, area. And then we also go to 16 years to 17 and 11 months.
Okay.
Why did we do it? And a lot of people wonder, why did we go all the way up?
Mhm.
Because legally, your kid can't drive a car without you signing off that it's okay for him to have a driver's license. You have to have him on your insurance because you are the responsible adult.
Right.
We are legally responsible for them until they are 18 years old.
Yep.
That's why. That's why. And what they do online, I mean, you see that there was that kid, and I'm talking about things that I've heard, um, news stories. There was the kid that, for the first time, parents were held culpable for an incident in a school.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
um, if we're holding parents accountable for those kinds of things in school, and they're utilizing um, online behavior and posts and things like that, they can get held accountable that way too. So we need to have it covered. We need to protect ourselves as parents. We need
Mhm.
to protect our kids, and as executives of companies, we need to protect ourselves from the liability. We've done a really good job as we complain about taking away how kids are growing up too fast. The internet is so dangerous, but the legislation that's behind it has also removed a lot of childhood memories. Question for you, um, to make it conversational. Do you remember birthday clubs?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
those are gone. Do you know why those are
Yep.
gone?
Because of the
Because they
information?
can't collect because they can't collect the data. The
Right.
first companies that got hit for COPA compliance,
Yeah.
when it was small, when it was young, when it was new, the first one was American Popcorn Company, parent of Jiffy Pop. Do you remember? I don't know if you're old enough to remember, but you used to be able to write in, or you get and register, and you could then get a birthday Jiffy Pop, and you'd go home and you'd shake your popcorn. And that was a fun thing. It's just like going to Starbucks and getting your free whatever. Um, the next one, a few years later, was Mrs. Fields' cookies got hit for
Mm.
birthday club information. So no free cookie for you. Come all the way to last November, just to tell you the growth, the exponential craziness. Epic Games, parent,
Yeah.
the company of Fortnite,
Yep.
depending on what you read, 450 million to $520 million popped for between using dark backgrounds and things of that nature, COPA compliance issues. But if they don't have the information, they can't do anything about it. So
Yeah.
they're leaking money like a sieve because of human nature. And I'm hoping that Epic hears this. Um, I'm friends with people in the insurance industry that said this is going to be a game changer,
Mhm.
because you can act. This is something that would make companies with less of a liability for insurance. This will help fintech companies, credit card companies, because they do third party advertising to account holders. When, like, your kids are on Roblox and you've got a subscription for them to get $20 of Robux every month, because they did their chores or they got good grades or whatever
Mhm.
the reasoning, because your credit card as an adult is on their account. Your child, whatever the email address on that account is, your child is getting third party advertising from credit card companies. That's against the FCRA. This invention, this device, will have a huge impact on so many verticals when you talk about companies and like advertising. I mean, like I said, I have my 25-year-old who will be 26 in December, said, 12-year-old me would really hate you for what you're doing right now. But 26-year-old parent me absolutely loves it. He
Yeah.
has an account um, that shows that he's 34 years old, because when he was a kid, he lied about his age. So when you talk about advertising and demographics, because that's the draw. I mean, you with your podcast, when you go into target market and demographics, you're looking for parents, you're looking for a certain, and or an age group, and you pay for advertising based on that information.
Mhm.
It's all skewed, and it's been skewed for 20 years. And I mean, that's a basis for a potential um, lawsuit for hundreds, if not thousands, of companies in a class action lawsuit.
How has this made a difference this last 5 years and launching this safety? I mean, I know you already said, like, your son's like, "The kid in me hates what you're doing, but the parent in me loves it." And I think most kids and adult kids, our adult kids would say the same thing. How has it impacted the relationships with your kids? Because you have one down to 13.
Hmm.
I'm guessing it's not the most fun for them.
No, it is
Yeah.
not. Um, like I said, they look at me like, the eye rolls, the teenage, I just, and their friends are, for the 90% of the time, right?
Yeah.
90% of the time, it's the eye roll response. It's the, "Ugh, okay, I know better." I will say this: my 13-year-old um, is probably one of the best people online to sniff out predatory behavior.
Mm.
Absolutely incredible. There's a new site, a fairly new site, called Reality. With the popularity of avatars, instead of photographs and real names, and you have usernames and things like that. Um, you don't know, and voice changing technology, you don't know who you're talking to. You don't. I require that, if they're in a video chat or a phone call, I'm in the same room.
Mhm.
That is so not cool, mom.
Yeah, not cool. I recently, Washoe County, where I live, put on a prevention conference, and I went because I
Excellent.
work with women with substance disorder. But one of the classes that you could take was about online and teenagers, and I went because we have a 14-year-old. And this is how, first of all, you mentioned it and we've all done it. So I don't think we can at all deny it. Like, I'd love to see somebody argue this. When you're a teenager, you figure out a way to do what you're not supposed to do.
Correct.
If you want it enough, you figure it out. So
Yep.
with so you can get bark, you can get all these different things to help with the safety of your kids. And this is what kids did to find the workaround. Because so many people have Apple devices, they use the note with Apple, and if I share a note with you and we both have notes, now we can message back and forth through notes. And that, this is the second crazy thing that's not crazy. Not only will teenagers figure out a way to do what they're not supposed to do, predators are like next in line if they're not the ones starting it
Yes.
out. Like, so the demographic of parents who are concerned are like the last to join the party with this stuff. And so the FBI was using shared notes to find predators who were targeting kids. No, I would never have looked there. And I share notes. I use notes. I share them. I could share
Right.
one with you. We could collaborate. And, you'd never know. Ah, we have kids in the background. I
We
love
have
that.
we have my 14-year-old birthday girl from yesterday's. Hold on. Hugs. Yes. I want to take her off screen. Sorry. I do my best to keep faces off camera. Because now with the AI technology, I love you. Can you go in the other room for a little bit, please? Let me finish my interview, okay? Okay, you can have your music in just a minute, okay? Promise. Love you. When I'm done, yes, you can have it. Yes. When I'm done, you can have the phone.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Music.
Yeah.
She's 14 and she has Down syndrome, so we limit what
Yeah.
she has access to. Because she's a target. She's definitely a target for
Yeah.
predators.
And
Um,
look, predators figure out a way and teenagers figure out a way. And when you add those two demographics, it's an explosion of
it's a
stuff
nightmare.
happening that parents don't want to happen. And I was like, never in a million years would I have looked at any of my kids' notes apps.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would have never,
And even if you look at the apps that are present, right, that
right.
you know about.
Then there's the behind the apps, like the calculator.
There's the lockers,
Yes.
yeah, the data locker calculators and things like
Yes.
that. And then there's you know, and that's the thing is you really just have to kind of get inside the head of these kids. And I'll be honest, I have a great perspective because my kids have been extremely transparent and forthcoming with information. What we try to do in our house is to ask the why. Like
Right.
when they're engaged online, why is someone asking me for this information? Why
Yep.
does someone care? Um, who I am, where I am, if I live with mom and dad, if I because that's all personally identifiable information. But as parents, we have to be careful of what we're sharing on our pages.
Right.
You know, um, it's and you have to and it translates from online to real life. Like, those bumper stickers of I have an honor roll school, student at XYZ school. God forbid your kid or you take a picture and that happens to be in the background. Um, or a predator in real life sees it. I unfortunately you can do all the diligence you want as a parent and your kid can get approached in real life or online. That's the truth of the matter. And we have to learn to give ourselves the grace to accept that and make peace with that and work with the again growing their critical thinking skills, teaching them how to identify certain problematic or predatory behaviors
Hmm.
and translate it into real life. I've had a child, my youngest in fact, um, we had words. They went to take a walk in the neighborhood and they were approached just like that. And then it grew to being followed for 20 minutes. Luckily, they were smart enough to get to a commercialized area where there were cameras. There was like 20 minutes of video footage. She didn't want to come back to the neighborhood because there are so many kids in our neighborhood in a very dense, small area. And we live in a suburb. And so um, she zigzagged and went around. And when she came in, the look on her face, I picked up my phone and I had 9-1 hit on my phone. She hugged me with that death hug. And before she could get the last half of the word followed out of her mouth, I hit one and dialed.
Yep.
There was, and they were here for 2.5 hours with her. Unfortunately, all the information she get, and she had everything. She was so astute. I'm so proud of her. Had the visual appearance, the clothes, the shoes were remembered. Um, the make and model of his vehicle that he drove by her and kept trying to get her to get in the car. She memorized his license plate number, except she had an S when it was actually a Z turned around in the middle. They got everything. They had it down to the driver's license. They had it on the computer in the police car, and they said they didn't have enough because she didn't get into the car. And I
Oh my
said,
gosh.
I said, and he didn't grab her. I said, no, because then we'd be talking about assault. Then we would be talking about kidnapping. Those are different
Yeah.
charges. Those are different charges. This is enticement. This was enticement with intent. You know it. I know it. What is going on? It's very frustrating. And so all of these experiences, all of them cumulatively just continue to fuel the fire and the momentum and the desire to get AuthentiKid on as many devices for kids as possible. What'll happen with the AuthentiKey once it gets onto a digital device, it then can go. The key is submitted anytime they go to log into a site. Sites that don't have it won't even acknowledge that it exists. But we're working towards it becoming a. We want it to be obviously become something that's required. Something that everyone would want to have, um, especially if it's going to save them money. We realize
Yep.
as companies, as parents, right, that as much as it would be nice if everybody had the same heart as us and want to protect kids, kids are making a crap ton of money for companies online with their data. Okay, so if it doesn't hit their bottom line and improve it by having this, it's they're nobody's going to buy it. This will keep them from being out of compliance with COPA and that $50,000 hit every single time. You've got states that are now doing not only children's online privacy and protection um, laws for their state, but they're also including now age appropriate design codes where they say, okay, you need to say, this, having the dark background, you need to have if they've been on for more than 30 minutes, a little, at this age group, they get a dinger to say, take a break, go outside, whatever. But that's up to the corporations how they want to handle that. But
Yeah.
without having the authentic lock in place, they're going to continue to be out of compliance. They're
Right.
going to continue, and that's not only dangerous for kids, but it's dangerous for companies who want to, like I said, pay for advertising or you know um, get access to those third party credit card lists. Or, I mean, there's, like I said, there's a wide variety of ways that this can really improve the bottom lines of several corporations across the board. Um, but with the Authentilock, they'll be able to deny access, they'll be able to open access, they'll be able to limit access, and they'll be able to augment access. As we get into virtual reality and augmented reality and
Hmm.
online gaming, that is so important. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you saw the story, but there was a kid that was on a um, a multi-member online playing platform, and he went into what was listed as a bar, and it was a strip club.
Yeah.
You know, do I want my 10-year-old in strip clubs online? No,
No.
no,
No.
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 Not a
Lisa, thank
conversation I want to have. You
no,
know,
not even when they are, like, ready for it, you don't wanna have it.
no,
Lisa, thank you
no.
so much for being on and sharing your experience and getting this information out. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm so excited we finally got to have this conversation, especially during this month.